What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to MLB Swing for the Fences here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. It's Friday, August 8th, and we got a whopper of a slate, 14 baseball games, no weather issues to speak of, and should be a fun Friday night of baseball, joined here on Friday by Statsational Stats. How you doing on this Friday afternoon?
Doing well, man. Just we got a lot. Just getting the busy time of the year, man. We got a lot going on. NFL, we got 15 games tonight. It was like you get a little reprieve yesterday from MLB, only like 3 games, but man, we're in the thick of it tonight. NFL and MLB. So yeah, we gotta rip through this and get our lineups in.
Yeah, no question about it. A lot to talk about. And yeah, NFL. Yeah, we're finally in full swing. I think when they start actually playing preseason games, that's when you can dial it in. Less than a month away, of course. And yeah, RPS, we got a lot of fun NFL tools coming out. We'll talk about some of those throughout the show if we can find time with 14 games going here. But yeah, I think it's a night to focus on the baseball because there's a lot to talk about. So without further ado, let's get into it. We start off in Baltimore, hot, humid, and playing tonight is one of the more hitter-friendly stadiums, which is not always the case in Baltimore. But it will be tonight. Ball should be flying. We've got 2, I think, mediocre right-handers here, especially Sugano going for the Orioles. I think he is a pitcher to target against with these A's bats, who I like quite a bit. And then JT Ginn going for the A's. Been decent for them. Super cheap, 6,300. I took a look at him. Ultimately, didn't quite make the cut for me, but I do think he's the better pitcher of these two. Neither of these guys will be owned. And then, yeah, I think you can look at really a lot of hitters from this game. I certainly prefer the A's side, but Baltimore side looks pretty good to me here. 2 stats. Go ahead and talk about this one. I'll pull up some Saber Sim so we can look at that as well.
Yeah, that'd be good. We could just kind of take a look at what Sabres got as far as ownerships and things like that. But yeah, I think, the thing about this slate, might as well talk about that now before we get into too much detail on these teams. There's really no we don't have a Colorado game tonight, although we do have Colorado in a hitter-friendly ballpark, which does help. But we don't have any like crazy team totals here. So with a slate like this, then it becomes, do we have some pitching that we could really get laser focused on? I think we do tonight, at least up at the top. We got Scuba going here tonight. We'll talk about him in a bit. But so I'm always looking, can I get a small pool of pitching, or do I have a small pool of stacks? I think tonight's the night for small pool of pitching, because we're going to want, I think a lot of these stacks are in play. And in this game, I think both of these stacks are in play. So let me just jump over to the pitching for this one. You mentioned you've got Ginn and Sugano going. Neither one of these pitchers is going to make it, because to go back to what I just said, I want to kind of tighten up my pitching pool tonight. I want a small pitching pool, and I'm going to be pretty much letting a lot of stacks into my 150 build. So Ginn and Sugano, just not a high enough strikeout rate for me for them to really make it into my my pitching pool. So I'll be out on both of those guys here. Just down at the bottom, I got him 18th and 20th overall on my model. Bats, the A's side, I think, is definitely the side I like the best. You got Cortez in there at 2,500, which is nice for these 5-man stacks to get yourself a little value. And we're going to need some savings because, like I said, I think I want to really shove hard on Scuba at 11.6 tonight. So wherever we could find some savings on the bats, we're going to have to do it, maybe with our second pitcher. But I think A's bats here tonight, very strong. Love the home run potential here with Kurtz, Rooker, and then Langoliers, and like I said, Cortez at the 2,500 really helps you fill out a 5-man stack. On the Baltimore side, I like the Baltimore bats, just not as strong. Like them more as a secondary stack with Gunnar and Jackson Holiday. You could use Butler or Soderstrom as well in there, but Baltimore, the athletic bats, I think. Did I say Butler and Soderstrom? That's on the A side. Westberg and Rutschman with Carlson are the ones that I like here on the Baltimore side. I do like Butler and Soderstrom as well, to a lesser degree, on the A's bat. So I think A's 5-mans. I like Baltimore more on the 2-man side.
Yeah, pretty much agree with all that. And, I was looking in the Discord today. Boynton, who I normally kind of agree with or see slates similarly to what he does, he listed 10 pitchers in the playbook. I kind of came to the same conclusion you did, Stats. It seems to me that there's just a few pitchers to kind of narrow down on, and I'm with you. I think it's a day to spread out hitting and really kind of laser focus in on some pitching. So I'm with you on that. On this slate, we'll see if those are the same pitchers that we're both on. Skubal obviously going to be one of them, but I think there's a few others that kind of stand out to me. So similar thoughts there. And then like I said, this A's stack looks good. Cortez leading off, switch hitter, 2,500 on a slate where I kind of do want to pay for pitching. I think that's a good chalk, right? He's probably safe from being pinch hit. The spot doesn't get much better. We love the stack in general. Can do it from both sides of the plate and super cheap. So this A's team, really that 1, 2, 3, Cortez, Rooker, Kurtz. If you're cutting it off, I do think those top three for the A's make the most sense. Let's go to Houston and the Yankees up next. This one in Yankee Stadium. Actually, according to Ballpark Pal, at least, going to play as one of the more pitcher-friendly parks today, which was a little bit surprising to me. I think it's mostly due to all the great spots out there, less so than, impossible night to hit in Yankee Stadium. That's not the case. We've got rookie Cam Schlittler going for the Yankees. He's been pretty decent through 4 starts. I don't think he's a huge target today at 7,300, but not someone that I'm, going crazy stacking against or anything like that. And then Hunter Brown going for the Astros has obviously been awesome all year. A dangerous matchup for Hunter Brown for sure here against the Yankees. A lot of lefty power in that lineup. And he's one of the ones that I don't think he's a bad play stats at 10K, but I do definitely prefer to find the 11.6. I know, or 1.6K rather, to get to Skubal. And then I like Sanchez better than Brown by a decent margin too. So again, would definitely include him for people playing 20 or 150 lineups. If you're narrowing it down to 3 to 5, he didn't quite make the cut for me. But I don't see a lot of bats here that I'm crazy to play outside of, contrarian Yankees power, I think is fine. What did you see in this one, Stats, between the Astros and the Yankees?
Yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of agreement here. So Hunter Brown comes in as my 5th best option on the slate. So kind of what you were saying, if you're going to limit it to 3-4, maybe you won't have Hunter Brown, but I think he has to make the mix here in a 20 build, certainly in 150, where I'm probably want to limit it maybe down to 7 or 8 pitchers and with a heavy focus on Skubal. Sanchez, I agree with you, comes in higher for me. I do think the upside, though, is always going to be there, and I think we've got potentially the highest upside here with Brown, maybe next to Skubal, for just raw score because of the strikeout potential. I mean, we're looking at a 1.32. This is the highest K per inning pitcher, at least on the projections that we've got tonight, even just slightly higher than Skubal. So you got to keep that in mind. Where, Brown gets in trouble is just really he can be wild, which lends itself, a lot of strikeouts and a lot of walks leads itself to not many pitches or not many innings finished or outs gotten in a game, which will limit us there as far as the outs. So 16.5 is his out prop in the betting market. 6.5 is his strikeout prop. We were just talking, they have a special on him over at the DraftKings Pick 6 to go over 5.5, and we'll talk about that later. We're going to do a DraftKings Pick 6 and see if that's one of the ones we're going to use. Schlittler, just no interest. 4.5 strikeouts. It is juiced a bit to the over, and then his out prop is 15.5. So I'm just going to pass on him. I think Brown is just the interesting case here. So I've got him as the 5th option. You've got him up on we've got Saber. So I'm glad you have that up so I don't have to look for it. Ownership, 15%. That's interesting. I'd almost want to get a little bit over that number, I think. Just because I think the potential, I mean, he's the type of pitcher against a team that can strike out. He could break a slate. He's that type of a guy. So I think I'd want to, on a slate like this, I think I do want to get over on him. I mean, bats wise, I'm not overly excited about any of these bats, but I do think you can get some, as much as I do like Hunter Brown, I don't actually mind playing secondary stacks as a leverage with some of these Yankee bats. If you're going to go expensive on the Yankees. So if you're going to go with cheap pitching, a cheap pitching lineup, and you're looking for someone to maybe some leverage against, I mean, Brown's not my favorite one to do this with, But with the Yankee power, a guy like Judge, basically against anybody, right, is always going to be a play. I love low-owned Judge, low-owned Ohtani, and by low-owned, 10% is low-owned for these guys. I love those spots for those guys. It's typically, obviously, going to be against really good pitching, but I never mind that, especially as a one-off play, a guy like Judge in this spot.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think Brown, like you said, just a lot of strikeout potential for all pitchers against this Yankees lineup. It's one of the kind of a boom bust matchup just for pitching in general, right? Because there are strikeouts to be had, and then there's all the power, obviously, that can hurt pitchers in a hurry. I mean, I'm looking at these Sabre numbers here. They never come in quite this low, but I mean, they got the entire Yankees stack 1% or below. It's, most people watching the show, playing 3 to 5 to maybe 10 lineups. It's tough to know what to do. Like, clearly, I think these are, a 1% Aaron Judge has to be a plus EV play. It just has to be, I think. But
yeah, it won't be. What do you think realistically comes in at?
4 to 5%, maybe. I mean,
it's a big slate. Yeah, I'm going to go over, but not by much. I mean, it's a big slate, so it could be very low. I love those plays. I love taking the best hitters in the game at low ownership against a great pitcher. I mean, these pitchers don't go that deep into games, and it takes one home run, and it moves you right up the leaderboard.
Any pitcher can leave a fastball over the middle. You do it to Aaron Judge, and there you go. So, good contrarian plays for sure for people playing a lot of lineups, or even if you're just trying to, fit in some power. These Yankees bats, I think, do make some decent sense tonight for people trying to get contrarian. But I'm with you. 15% on Hunter Brown seems more than fair on this slate. Let's get to the next game on the slate. It is the Tigers and the Angels in Comerica Park. We've got the highest projected pitcher, and honestly, stats. I'll pull up Sabre here in a second, but one of the higher projections that a Sabre sim. I just have the kind of default Sabre projections up for the purposes of this show. But one of the higher numbers that I've seen for any pitcher all season is Tarik Skubal. Makes sense at home, good place to pitch, and this Angels lineup. It does have power, but it's got a ton in swing and miss and a park that holds home runs. And, before you can give up power, you got to give up hard contact, which Skubal obviously misses a lot of bats and doesn't give up a lot of hard contact anyway. So his upside, I think, is through the roof. I would say fairly priced at 11.6. When you get to that high of a price point, I can't call him a must play just because he's got to put up 25 plus probably to end up on the winner, but certainly a strong play, especially if there's some cheaper bats that you like, which, on a 14 game slate, there's going to be quite a few guys under 3K that you can reasonably play. So you have to like Skubal here. I'm certainly in on him and certainly not in on Kyle Hendricks. I think some of this Detroit power, Carpenter, Riley Green looks decent to me. But again, a kind of a tough park for home runs. And those guys relatively expensive. I do think Carriage Carpenter 3,800, my favorite play overall outside of Skubal in this game. Go ahead, stats on Tigers and Angels.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tale of two pitchers. I've got the number one pitcher in my model with the worst pitcher in my model on the slate. So obviously not going to be taking Hendricks in this one, but Skubal, it's one of the best spots I've seen all year. I typically love taking Angels as kind of a leverage play. They're really good against some of the better pitching, or at least when you have a high owned pitcher. I love kind of targeting Angel bats a lot of times because of the home run potential. Mm-hmm. Not the case in this one. I think this one we just have to totally punt Angel bats. I mean, the team total is like 2.77. It's the lowest team total on the board here tonight. So we really have to just focus on Detroit. I do like some of these Detroit bats with Carpenter, Green, and Torkelson up at the top. We've got some, it's one of the higher totals too. The Detroit side of this game, as it should be, with one of the worst pitchers on the slate going against them. But then you've got some decent prices in Keith at 3,400 and then Baez at 3,200. So we've got, I think, some pretty good 5-man stacks to go. It's not my favorite 5-man stack, but we definitely have some options here that we can, some cheaper bats. Even Carpenter's only 3,800. So we've got enough bats under 4K that I think we can make some really solid lineups. I like pretty much all the bats in the Detroit lineup outside of maybe a Dingler at the catcher. At the price 3,300, I would kind of look elsewhere. But I really don't mind any of the Detroit bats in this game.
Makes sense. Obviously, Hendricks not any good. You'll probably have Skubal shutting it down on the other side too, which, presumably if the Tigers can get out to a big lead in this game, they'll get some really, really bad relievers out of the Angels' pen in the second half of it after Hendricks departs. You could see a game get out of hand. That's, we saw it with the Blue Jays over the weekend, but sometimes when they bring in these just terrible pitchers, and you can do some damage late where it's harder for other teams to do that. Tigers seem like a really good spot for that with Skubal going. So looking at the Sabre ownership numbers, 5% or less for this Tigers stack seems pretty strong to me against a pitcher who we do want to target in Kyle Hendricks. So I'm with you there. Tigers, I think, make for a good, maybe semi-contrarian stack today. Let's go to Atlanta next for the Marlins and the Braves. Pretty average weather in Atlanta. Hot and humid as usual. Should play decently well for hitting. Edward Cabrera going for the Marlins. He's been pretty damn good as of late. The Marlins kind of making a late playoff charge here. They're an interesting team to watch. 8,200 for him. I think he's an okay play. I'm out on Bryce Elder at 6,100. Just not any good. He's a pitcher to target against, and I actually really like this Marlins team. I've been on Kyle Stowers since he had just a few home runs. The metrics for him were just off the charts even before he went on the tear that he's been on now. So that's been certainly a fun ride, playing a lot of Stowers up from, $3K to the $5,600 price tag he currently carries. Augustin Ramirez, another guy, just has massive power from the catcher position. And then even some of these lesser known bats, Jacob Marcy is swinging a good bat. He looks good to me metric wise. Heriberto Hernandez looks okay, 2,800. So I like this Marlins team quite a bit against the Braves, certainly more, I think, than the field is going to. And then I think mostly out on the Braves bats, Drake Baldwin coming off a monster game. He's been swinging a good bat, a little bit interesting in the catcher spot. What about you, Stats? What do you see between the Marlins and the Braves here?
Yeah, I like some of these Marlin bats as well. So I agree with you. Let's just kind of dive in quick on the pitching. Elder, 4.5 Ks in his prop market. Really don't have much interest in Elder. He is 17.5 on the pitching outs. We got 5.5 on Cabrera, 17.5 on his pitching outs. I like it a little bit better, kind of mid-pack for me. I want to really tighten up the pitching, so probably not going to make the cut, but just know I've got him right at the middle of the pack. If you want to widen your pitching pool a little bit, he's not the worst play. Just I always worry about his, again, he's another one of these guys where the control is not the best.
Yeah.
One of the worst on the slate, as a matter of fact. So I take that into account as well on a slate like this. But decent strikeout numbers for the price, 8,200. But I like the bats here, and especially we've got a min bat in there for Miami with Johnson. We got a 2K outfielder. So again, that fits in well. Stowers, yeah, we've been on Stowers quite a bit on the Boom Report. Power guy, a little bit of speed, which helps us out. So we've got enough power in here. Johnson's just the fact that he's 2K. Can hit you a home run, can steal a base as well. So I like the three. I like the two outfielders with the catcher here, Ramirez, for Miami as my favorite plays on with the bats. But even Marcy, Lopez, prices are right. And again, we're just looking for some cheap stacks here. I think Miami fits nicely. I don't mind Miami stacks. Atlanta stacks to a lesser degree. I don't want to get too excited on the Atlanta stacks. I'd probably just leave them in there. Again, we're going to be leaving kind of a lot of bats, more so, at least I am, than pitching. So my Atlanta, I'm not going to have any 5-man Atlanta stacks. I don't really like them, but I'll leave them open as far as to kind of fill in for maybe secondary and one-off pieces. Don't anticipate getting a lot of Atlanta bats, though, in my lineups.
Yeah. Looking at Miami, I wrote them up as kind of being a top 6 team. I talked about that, but yeah, add Troy Johnston into the mix. Power and a little bit of power and quite a bit of speed before getting called up at 2K. He looks like a good play. This Marlins team, they're getting kind of interesting right now. So, I think this 1 through 7 for the Marlins. And listen, the 8 and 9 or 2,500, 2,400. You can play those guys too. They make a lot of sense against a bad pitcher in Bryce Elder. And it looks like ownership is reasonable on them as well. So
I would say, are you talking about Myers? I just want to kind of jump in. So I mean, I would only play him. I think I actually don't like the Paulie, but at all. So I would kind of pass on him at the 2,400. But Myers, I would play in 5-man stacks only. I think stolen base guy, so he'll benefit if they're scoring a bunch of runs. He's not a guy outside of the stolen base. Probably not a guy who's going to produce a lot of his own run. Not going to hit a home run for you. So kind of like him in 5-man stacks.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But yeah, like the Marlins quite a bit against Elder and the Braves here. Let's go to Cleveland and the Chicago White Sox up next. We've got Tanner Bybee going to be, I think, one of the more popular pitchers on this slate. Sabres got him 14%, which is, I guess, a little bit lower than I thought that he might be. Probably makes him a good play. And then Aaron Savali at 7,100. Again, I think an okay play against a Guardians lineup that I do like using pitchers against. But yeah, Bybee, I mean, pretty good pitcher, good talent-wise, but obviously it's a matchup that kind of carries a lot of the interest in Bybee. White Sox have definitely been better over the last month than they were early in the season, but you just look at this lineup, and this is still a team that I definitely want to use pitchers against as often as I can, even with some improvement. A lot of strikeouts, especially in the back half of the lineup. And Bybee, 7,600. Guardians are kind of old school, so they're going to give you 5-6 innings most of the time. If they're pitching decently well, they do rely on Bybee to soak up as many innings as possible. So I like him quite a bit at 7,600. Definitely one of the pitchers I'm focused in on. Your thoughts here, stats on Guardians and White Sox.
Yeah, I agree with you. At the 7,600, it's going to be one of the guys I think kind of makes the cut here for me. I've got him as the 6th best option on the entire slate. Decent K per inning number. As far as Savali goes, just not going to cut it. I agree. I mean, look, the White Sox have been better as of late. We've seen them in some winning lineups maybe since the All-Star break, right? So they have been hitting a bit better for us. I just don't like them in this spot. Now I'm looking at Sabre and just looking at the ownership numbers on Bybee. I think it's a little light, for the 7,600, especially for me, where I'm going to be heavier on Skubal. I'm going to have to find some of these cheaper pitchers to get in. So I'm going to wind up being a little over on a guy like Bybee in this matchup than maybe the market will be. I still think that number is going to be lower than where they come in, or what Sabre has, which is like, I think they had him at like 14, 15%.
Yeah.
I think he comes in a little bit higher. So, if we want to look in the prop market on a Bybee, he is at 5.5 strikeouts with a 17.5 out prop, and that's juiced to the over. So, I mean, that's a pretty good number for a pitcher at 7,600. So I like that a bit. And I really don't have much interest. I've used the White Sox here as a kind of a leverage play. Just don't love them in this spot as taking the leverage here against a Bybee. I like Cleveland bats quite a bit in this matchup. Ramirez, Manzardo, Bo Naylor, Schneemann, Santana, all those bats really, really rate high for me, and reasonable prices here. Naylor at 2,600 behind the dish, like that a lot. Santana's at 2,800. So we've got a lot of bats in that 3K and sub 3K range that I think are worth playing. You even got Kafis in the outfield, 2,100. It's not terrible either. Could give you, not a ton of pop, but might be able to hit one for us. A little bit of speed. So I do like these Cleveland bats quite a bit. Going to have a significant amount of them in 5-man stacks. If you have the urge to kind of play White Sox bats as a leverage play, of course, Robert is always one of the top options for the White Sox. But you got to, if you're looking to punt third base, got a $2,100 Baldwin in there. Don't mind that play. Little pop, little stolen base as well for 2,100. But I'm going to be very light, if not much at all. I'll probably leave a couple of these bats in, Benintendi, Baldwin, and Robert, just to see if they where they fall in the mix in my 150 builds, but not going to have any 5-man stacks at all. But Cleveland pretty heavily 5-man stacks for me.
Yeah, I think you're a little bit higher on the Guardians than I am, but I get it against Savale, who's a mediocre at best pitcher, and then of course you've got the White Sox bullpen behind him, which teams have been beating up on that all year. So yeah, makes sense with the Guardians, and they're super cheap, right? You can get two good pitchers in them with the full stack, with the full stack with the top of the lineup, obviously, which is a good way to go. So that does make sense for me on the Guardians. Let's get to Texas for the Phillies and the Rangers. Merrill Kelly trade deadline acquisition for the Rangers will start here. His first start was pretty good against Seattle. Pretty tough matchup for him against the Phillies. Pretty much out on Merrill Kelly. Some of the Phillies lefty power, I think, looks pretty good. Schwarber and Harper. I don't think I'd go too far beyond those two guys. And then Christopher Sanchez, certainly a pitcher that I want to get exposure to here. Been on him really all year long, and he just had a little hiccup 2 starts ago, but he's given up more than or 1 earned run or less in 8 of his last 9 starts. Just a crazy run Sanchez has been on. Love watching him pitch. Sabres got him, as we see, projected for around 15% ownership, which I'll take I want to be over that number for sure with Sanchez. He is my second favorite pitcher tonight, behind Skubal, a night where I do want to spend on pitching to a large degree. So absolutely in on Sanchez. I'm out on Texas completely, and then mostly just the power bats for Philly. What do you see here? Stats between the Rangers and the Phillies.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that. I like Sanchez here, and he's my number 2 option. So I think that 15% is light. If he comes in 15%, I'll be happy about that, because I'm going to want to get over on Sanchez. Kind of like the strikeout potential. 5.5, I believe, is his prop. I'm going to jump to that now. So he's a 5.5 strikeout prop, but it's heavy juice to the over. 18.5 on his out. So kind of looking for him to go deeper in this game, really than any other pitcher outside of Skubal. So that bumps him up for me. You definitely want pitchers who are going to get deep into games for you. So I like Sanchez quite a bit. I will be in the 25 to 30% range in that. That's where I would like to get to in my 150 build. So yeah, not looking for the leverage play against him with Texas. Really don't like that at all. So Texas bats are going to be out for me. It's really Philly bats, and I agree with you. It's really their big bats in that lineup. It's Schwarber, Harper, and Turner, kind of the only ones. You could throw Castellanos in there as well. Those are the bats I'd really want to target for Philly. I think they're secondary stacks for me, not so many 5-man stacks.
Yeah, it looks like really low ownership on Schwarber, Harper. There's a bunch of studs. We talked about it with Judge. Now we had Schwarber, Harper, guys with a lot of power, good home run props that are going to be lower owned, just kind of due to circumstance on this slate. So could be a good slate to try to fit one of those one-offs into your lineups. Obviously tough to do, as we do like the expensive pitching, but I love getting the big power hitters, the double dong potential guys, slate breakers. When you can get them at a low ownership number, always a good way to do it. So Schwarber, especially, the guy that I will try to fit into at least some of my lineups, and I'll be getting as much Christopher Sanchez as I can into my lineups as well.
Yeah, I think Schwarber's going to come out as maybe the highest tournament edge play. Yeah, just based on his ownership, he's going to be 1 or 2 on the tournament edge. I'm talking about the Boom Report for those that don't know. So yeah, what you kind of know intuitively is what the data is also saying, right? So those guys are going to be, especially Schwarber, but Schwarber, Harper, and Turner are going to be really strong leverage plays against the entire field. They're just not going to be high owned.
I've had some pretty good success recently, stats putting together, just tournament edge, like a whole lineup of tournament edge plays with the 2 pitchers I like back, or maybe little mini stacks. Obviously, the 5-man stack is the way to go, but especially on smaller slates, you can get up there high on some of those tournament edge plays if they come through.
It's funny because I think some of the largest wins that we've had at RPS have been the tournament edge stacks. Guys who played that tournament, and it makes sense, right? I mean, that's exactly what it's designed to do. It's basically telling you, hey, these guys have really high potential to boom, as the Boom Report would suggest, at low ownership. I mean, it's basic, right? But it's right in your face, and it shows you. So I know there's quite a few people who just look for that. There's different metrics. I like that as well. I like that tournament edge. Some people will just play what the best stack that has the highest tournament edges. And yeah, this isn't a terrible one at all. Which you've got a guy. I've got him at like 3-1 to hit a home run here tonight. So at no ownership, 3-1 is one of the best odds that you're going to get. And I'm not talking prop markets, which are going to scalp you tremendously. I'm talking actual. He's got about a 25% chance to pop a home run here. So I like that play a lot. And yeah, if you're using the Boom Report, look at the tour. I'm going to have that as well for NFL. We're going to have tournament edge plays as well. We'll see how it performs. But I've been back testing it, and I'm like, I think I won like $1 million 4 times in my back testing. So we'll see. So we'll see how that goes. It's always easier to back test.
Listen, stats. I'm excited about the Boom Report for NFL. I'll be utilizing that heavily when we get to week 1 for sure. Baseball's been great, and football will be even more fun. Like you said, I kind of come to most of the plays on the Boom Report in Tournament Edge kind of intuitively, but football maybe not as much. I'm kind of a baseball data guy, so it'll be fun to see who pops up in that. And I bet we'll get some really good Tournament Edge wide receivers. I think is where they're
absolutely absolutely.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. Hunting the long touchdown passes is kind of similar to chasing the home run balls, which obviously plays a huge part in who gets to the top of the GPPs at the end of slates. KC and Minnesota up next, 2 righties here. Joe Ryan, Seth Lugo. This one in Minnesota, and looks like perhaps the best hitting weather day that we've seen in Target Field, maybe of the whole year. Hot, humid, winds out to left field. 2 pretty good pitchers here, though, that I don't love targeting against. I didn't find myself playing a lot from this game. Curious, though, where you ended up. Joe Ryan's obviously been awesome, and it will be a good place to hit tonight. So I could see having some, alternative opinions on this game. But yeah, where'd you end up with Royals and Twins? Kind of neutral on this game for myself, at least right now.
Yeah, it's kind of how it looks, right? It's good pitching. I mean, you got Ryan 17.5 outs, which is heavily juiced to the over with a 5.5 strikeout prop. So, not terrible there, but it's, we against Kansas City, it's always tough to really target against Kansas, although they have added some more strikeouts to that lineup, but it's always kind of a tough team to target against. Lugo's the same 5.5 strikeouts, but it's heavily juiced to the under with 17.5 juiced to the over on his out prop. I mean, I've got Ryan as my eighth best pitcher. So he's right on the border for me of where I want to cut it off. And I'm going to throw him in there just for the talent level. He's going to make the cut for me. Lugo will not. It's going to miss my builds here because I, like I said, definitely want to tighten it up on the pitching side. With that said, yeah, I'm not getting overly excited about the bats. A couple of, Wallner, Clemens, pretty good prices there. I think they fit in nice in some 2-man stacks. You could toss Lee in there as well. Dual position helps at 2,700. That's really all, on the Minnesota side. Kansas City, I mean, if you want to get against Ryan and maybe get a little leverage, it's not the worst idea either. Witt, Yaz, and Pasquantino, I think are your 3 best options there to maybe get a little leverage against Ryan, who will have, a little bit of ownership. I don't know where Sabres got him. Do you have it up there? I'm not looking at. Yeah, we'll see on so that's about right. I mean, most of these guys are going to be in that 15, that 15% range. So I don't mind it necessarily, I don't mind taking a leverage plays here. I haven't found like a good 5-man stack yet. We haven't gotten to a good 5-man stack yet as a leverage play against a starting pitcher, but I don't mind taking a couple of these pieces on the Kansas City side, maybe as a secondary stack or a one-off piece to get a little leverage. You got Rave at 2,400 as well. If you have that one punt option, not terrible.
Yeah, I think that makes some sense. And weakened Twins bullpen too. They traded their 2 best relievers at the deadline, so potential for Kansas City to do some damage after Ryan departs. Up next, we've got the Mets and the Brewers. This one in Milwaukee. I believe Roof's going to be open for this one. So I think from what I've seen, should play home run friendly, especially in Milwaukee. But 2 good pitchers going here. Brandon Woodruff's been really, really excellent since returning from the injured list. kind of back to his prime self, which was one of the better pitchers in baseball. He's priced like it at 10.3K. I don't think I can do it. The stats at that price tag going to be around what we see, around 10% ownership for Woodruff. To me, feels a little high compared to 15% Sanchez. And then Kodai Senga going on the other side. Been a rough ride for him. He's been bad 3 starts in a row. He's walking all kinds of guys. Walks in the last 3 games, 3, 5, 3. So putting guys on the bases, that's a dangerous game to play against this Milwaukee team, who we've seen put up some big numbers recently. One of the hotter teams in baseball. Like to get active on the base paths. They're a sneaky stack, I think, most nights, and maybe a decent contrarian stack here. I assume they have next to no ownership, pulling that up. Yeah, low ownership, or under 5% looks like for the Brewers. So I kind of think they're interesting. But overall, more of a kind of a contrarian game, I think. Low numbers on the Mets too against Woodruff, but I don't love that. What about you, Stats? Where'd you end up with Mets and Brewers here?
Yeah, so I mean, Woodruff's coming in 5.5 strikeouts in the prop market, juiced over 17.5 on his out total, with Senga 4.5 juiced to the over, 15.5 on his outs. I mean, Senga for me, just there's no chance. Let's just not going to make the not going to make the cut here for me. But I will have Woodruff in the mix. I've got him at the 7th best option on the slate. I mean, decent, look, we're paying up, so that's going to that's going to kind of limit. I don't nearly want as much Woodruff as I do Hunter Brown. So that's going to limit me on his price tag, but I think you do want to get some Woodruff in there. I think we do have some potential on the strikeouts. I'd like to, his just ownership's not going to be high enough. I'd love to play some Met bats as contrarian. I still think some of the Met bats are worth playing. I think the park will play a little smaller today, as you mentioned. So I don't mind some of these bats for the Mets. So I think you could go ahead and play some 5-man Met stacks. I actually like it more than the Milwaukee side of this game. So I like Mets stacks, even though I will be playing Woodruff and I won't be playing Senga. Kind of a mixed bag for me here. So I'm going to have a little bit of Woodruff, not a lot, and probably more Met stacks than the market will have. So Alonso, Soto, Lindor, the 3 big ones. I like Mullins' price tag at 3,500. So yeah, I think some Met stacks will make the cut for me. I don't think a lot of people will be on that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it at all. I mean, we're seeing super low numbers on the Mets. That makes sense, especially on a park that's going to play home run friendly. And I don't know, Woodruff, it's still a small sample size on him. I'm still not completely sold that he is the Woodruff of old. So I do like that Mets contrarian stack. I like the Brewers too. So yeah, two decent contrarian stacks you can look at for people trying to get off the board today. We'll keep it moving to the second half of the slate. Good time to mention, though, we do have football packages up, just released in the last day or two, up on Run Pure Sports. Good pricing on those and several options, kind of all price points for people that want different levels of Saber Sim. Get our good content, get the Boom Report up for NFL, which is going to be awesome. All the great content we got over there at Run Pure Sports. You can use promo code JBC 100K win. It still works for 15% off. So check out the football packages. Of course, we'll do baseball, all their sports as we get ready for that. But awesome time of the year to join. And yeah, hopefully some of you join us over at Run Pure Sports. Next up is the Cubs and the Cardinals. This one in Busch Stadium will be very hot and humid. Should play pretty hitter friendly. We've got lefty Matthew Boyd going for the Cubs. He's been generally really, really good. Did have a bad start 2 starts ago, but I think like 6 of his last 7 have been 20-plus fantasy point outings. He's looked awesome to me when I've watched him pitch. I think a pretty good matchup for Boyd here as well against a St. Louis team. I think he's interesting at 8,800, especially at that ownership number. Just 2% projected ownership for Boyd. Feels really low for me. And then Michael McGreevy, rookie for the Cardinals. Been a struggle for the most part for him. He's been hit hard, particularly by left-handed bats. I think Tucker, PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong makes some sense here. So yeah, mostly Cubs in this one. I think I'm mostly out on the St. Louis bats. Where'd you end up stats with the Cubs and the Cardinals?
Yeah, I don't love either pitcher. I mean, I guess outside of the $5,600 price tag on McGreevy, there's not much else that I could get into. One of the worst strikeout options on this entire slate. So I'm not gonna, on a slate like this, there's no chance I'm playing McGreevy. I actually have Boyd even below him just because the only reason McGreevy's up is just because the price is so low, right? So I take salary into consideration, but I've got Boyd below him as well. So at 8,800, just look at the other options that you've got in this price range. I think they're all superior to him when you look at what some of the props on Boyd. So let's look at Boyd's strikeout totals, just 4.5 minus 120 to the over. So just not enough at 8,800 for me to get excited about Boyd. So I'm going to be off that. I think the bats, and especially Chicago bats, I think in this game are just really, really solid. I want to get heavy on Cub stacks. I think that's primarily how I'm going to play this game. Don't even love the St. Louis bats, even though I'm not going to be on Boyd. But yeah, I think you could just kind of slam Cub stacks. I think they're one of the best stacks on the entire slate.
I'm surprised Boyd's props are lower. They're lower than I would expect, frankly. So, we get to pick 6 here at the end of the show. Maybe I might be looking at that Boyd strikeout number going over. I think he's got a good chance to exceed the market value there. So a little bit more interest in Boyd than you have. I get it. Strong pitching slate. Got to make the cut somewhere. But I do think Boyd could pitch better than the market expects him to here. Let's go to Arizona next. We've got the D-backs and the Rockies. Rockies coming off just a beat down from the Blue Jays. What they give up, like 40 runs in 3 games? Something crazy.
I was just mad they weren't on the main slate yesterday.
Yeah, I know. What a player. I think it was, you just had to play them, and they just absolutely crushed. Here, though, they go on the road, obviously. So the bats even in a worse spot. Zach Gallen, he's not a pitcher I trust generally, but I have to have interest here at 8K against this Rockies team. All the swing and miss. Gallen, to me, he's kind of a guy that relies on deception, kind of winning the mental battle against pitchers more than he does raw stuff. And I like the spot for him against the Rockies, who just swing and miss all the time, super undisciplined. He did struggle against them in Coors Field a couple months ago, but I don't know. I'm willing to take a shot on Gallen here at 8K for sure. And then looks like the D-backs are going to end up being pretty popular as a stack. They got one of the higher team totals, so I get it. Yeah, pulling up the D-backs hitter ownership here. Yeah, I think this is the highest we've seen so far, 10 to 15% on the Diamondbacks. I know they ended up pretty high on your stack list as well. But yeah, I'm having a little hard time getting as enthused as the market is on this team, partly because, they don't have that many good hitters, and the ones that you want that are good hitters you're paying for them. $6K for Ketel Marte, 6,300 for Carroll. We talked about guys in this price range at no ownership, guys like Judge and Schwarber and Harper. I don't know if I want to play into the chalk with these top guys, and I don't like the rest of the lineup very much. So I think this is one I'll be under the field on with the Diamondbacks. Guessing you like them more than I do, but yeah, talk to us, Rockies and D-backs, your stats.
I'm actually in agreement with you. I do like the Arizona bats, don't get me wrong, but I do think they're going to be a little higher owned than they need to be on a slate like this. Yeah, they came out. I do that stack report. Everybody likes to have fun with that in the Discord, but the stack report has them as the number one option. But on a slate like this, they're not that far out there above. It's a half a run over the Athletics on what we're projecting team total. But with so many teams, I do a percentage of, I won't get too detailed on that report, but we've got percentages on, depending on how aggressive you want to be and how many stacks you're playing, of how much ownership you should have of each of those stacks. And so if you're going to play, and we really think you need to spread out the stacks, if you're going to play at least 9 of these stacks, and you play it kind of balanced, they're only like 15% ownership is what the suggestion is. And quite frankly, I probably want to be under that just from a game theory standpoint. I want to get under where I think this ownership. So I think they'll probably be in that 10 to 15%. And I think if you can get in the 5 to 10% range on your stacks, with most of these Arizona batters. Probably going to play out much better for you than getting over on them. I just I don't see the necessity to do that with this many games on the slate tonight. So yeah, I mean, I do like Arizona bats. I mean, just strictly if we weren't trying to win a GPP, I would say, yeah, they're the best, probably the best stack of the night, but I would have to get under the market on them. Now, on the pitching side, I do agree. Gallen I've got as my number 3 option on the entire slate. Obviously, Gomber we're not going to be interested in, but I think Gallen at the 8K is going to factor in significantly. He's going to be high owned, I would assume. I'm not looking at you've got it up there.
20%.
Yeah, and I think you could be, because I'm going to be so tight on my pitching, I'll probably be over that as well. I'm going to be over on a lot of these pitchers that I have high on today, just because I'm not dipping down much further past the 7th or 8th pitcher on my list. So so I'm going to be heavy on Gallen and love the Arizona bats, but I think you want to temper your expectations, get under the market, let everyone else kind of play the chalkier bats on a slate like this.
I think we're going to see a lot of people go to the bottom half of the D-backs lineup. I mean, they've got all those 2K guys. I mean, they have 5 through 9 are all below 3K for the team with the highest projected team total on the slate. So I do think you'll see a lot of people go to Locklear and Alexander. I mean, these guys, like, not to say they couldn't have a good game tonight, but these guys are not good hitters, like whatsoever. So I usually avoid chalk stats like that.
I mean, Locklear's got some. I mean, he's got a little power and some speed, so I don't mind him at the 2,600. But yeah, I mean, on the whole, it's not a great. It's a much better top of the lineup, and then the bottom of the lineup, you just kind of, we're struggling with. And I think they're going to just be over owned. I think some of the, like you said, I think some of the bottom of the lineup guys will fit in nicely with a 5-man stack. I think we could just go elsewhere.
Yeah, I think you'll see a lot of people play Scooble and those cheap D-backs bats will probably be one of the higher owned combos, pitching hitter combos of the slate. Boston and San Diego up next as we move westward. Petco Park, obviously here. We've got Nick Pivetta going for the Padres. He's been pretty awesome all year, very consistent. Gets the matchup here against the Red Sox, who are playing very good baseball. So they're not a team that I really want to target against right now. But Pivetta, yeah, good enough where he's certainly got to be in the mix at 9,500. He's one of the guys that I do like Sanchez quite a bit better, and I think they're going to be somewhat similar ownership here. Yeah, Pivetta, around 14%. So that's the reason I'm off Pivetta, but I do think he's a reasonable play in a vacuum. And then Walker Buehler going for the Red Sox. He has been terrible all year long. A pitcher that I love targeting against, gives up a ton of base runners, seems to be getting worse stats as the season goes along. I mean, he just hasn't thrown that many innings throughout the, he's just been injured for the last couple of years. And he seems like a guy who could really, really fade even worse down the stretch to me. So I want to get some stacks in against Walker Buehler while he's still around. I think he's one of the worst starting pitchers going right now. I don't stack the Padres often. They just seem kind of overpriced in general, especially trying to hit in this stadium. But I'll make an exception tonight. I do think the Padres are a good contrarian stack. Looking at the ownerships, 5% and below for this team. They make sense to me for a pitcher who's going to give up a ton of walks, doesn't miss any bats, gives up hard contact. We'll take a shot on the Padres today. What about you, stats? What do you see in Boston and San Diego?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. We, like you said, I don't typically love playing bats at this ballpark, but San Diego, not the worst. I'll start with let me start with the pitching, and we'll start with Buehler, like you said. I mean, there's just zero interest in Buehler, so one of the worst options, just above Hendricks when we get to the bottom of the list from me. So that's not going to happen. Pivetta, on the other hand, 4th best option on the entire slate. Do like getting some Pivetta. Where's the ownership coming in at? I could look at this.
Around 15 for Pivetta.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are right. So that's why, these guys who I have my 4th or 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th options, they're all coming in at like 15%. And by limiting my pitching, I think I'm probably just going to get over on a lot of these guys. And the hope is one of my top or two of my top 6, 7 pitchers hit the winner. So I think that's how I'm going to play it here. And Pavetta's certainly going to make the cut
Yep.
for me. When you talk about the bats, yeah, I like to say maybe don't like them nearly as much as you do. I'm more on the secondary stacks and one-offs with them. Tatis and Machado with Laureano in there as well. I'm going to really focus on those guys. Boston bats for a little contrarian play. I would feel much better about it in Boston than in San Diego. So I kind of stay away from that. But if you feel that you want to take a stand there and play a little leverage against Pivetta, Story, and Abreu with Bregman would be my three favorite options there.
Yeah, I think that all makes sense. And a little bit higher on the Padres than you are, just mostly a shot against Pivetta. It's against still a pretty good lineup in the Padres, even if they do have to deal with Petco. I do think they've got a chance to do some damage in this one. Let's get to Seattle for the Mariners and the Rays next. Two righties here. Drew Rasmussen going for the Rays. Been kind of limited at times, although looks like he's ramping back up a little bit, but still, I think you're looking at, I'm guessing his outcrop right around 15 for Rasmussen. And then Luis Castillo pitching at home here, which has been a big boon for him, as it is almost all Mariners pitchers every year. Decent strikeout matchup for Castillo, 8,100. I kind of think he's a middling play. Not going to make the cut for me, but maybe would be included in big lineup sets. I don't see a ton here. The Mariners obviously improved the lineup. Just not much here for me, stats. But what do you see between the Rays and the Mariners?
Yeah, so I've got Castillo, kind of middle of the pack. Both of these guys actually kind of middle of the pack, 10th and 11th. Rasmussen and Castillo in that order. So don't have a ton of interest. They're going to kind of just miss my 150 builds. But you could if you're going to widen it up a little bit, I think they're definitely options worth playing.
When you're talking about kind of narrowing down your pitching, these are two of the guys that you're kind of cutting out to get bigger numbers, right? Because both these guys right around 10% owned. You get them out of there and you add those to pitchers you like a little bit better.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So that's why I'm going to be over on some of these other pitchers who were at least projected to be 15%. And I'm hoping to get over on some of those guys. So you got to kind of you got to draw the line in the sand, and it's right. It's a little bit ahead of where I've got Rasmussen and Castillo. But, if you're going to widen it out and you're going to get you've got more conviction maybe on your stacks and the bats, and you want to widen out your pitching a little bit, then I think those guys can certainly fit in that kind of a build. But, and it's in that ballpark that we do like to target pitchers in that park. Don't really like to target hitters. So for me, if I'm kind of out on the pitchers and I think they're kind of mediocre, I'm going to be out on the bats as well. I just don't I don't love playing this ballpark. So don't particularly love a lot of bats in this lineup at all. It's kind of a no play game for me.
Yeah, looks like absolutely zero ownership on the bats in this game. So for people that disagree, you got a good contrarian stacks here. But I have a hard time thinking either of these teams ends up on the winner when it's all said and done. So I'm with you. Not going to have many bats from Tampa Bay or Seattle as well. That won't necessarily be the case for me, at least for the next game. Toronto and the LA Dodgers. This one in Dodger Stadium should be a good night to hit here. Two Hall of Famers going at it here, but well past their prime. Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, both in that mid 7K range. Both are reasonable pitchers at this times of their career, but I've been banging the drum for lefty power against Max Scherzer, and it has come through in a big way. He's getting hammered by left-handed bats. I know he's been good 2 starts in a row. I'm still using lefties against these guys. So 3 of my favorite plays in the same lineup for the Dodgers: Ohtani, Freeman, and then Max Muncy, who came through for us in a big way the other night. I think is maybe the best point per dollar play on the whole slate, Max Muncy. So love him. In on the Dodgers, mostly the lefties. Kershaw, I'm not using Scherzer either. But I don't think I'll use many Blue Jays coming out of that huge Coors Field series. Just doesn't feel like the best spot for them. Where'd you end up stats with Blue Jays and Dodgers here?
Yeah, I think you're right. As far as the pitching goes, Kershaw definitely beyond his prime at this point. 3.5 strikeouts, 15.5 on the outs in the prop markets. Scherzer a little bit better, 5.5 strikeouts, but still only 15.5 outs, and that is juiced to the under. They're not expecting him to go very deep in this game. I'm not either. So I think 5 innings would be a lot here. We're about at the average where we're looking at 5 innings. I love the Dodger bats. This is one of my favorite stacks, and I agree with you. I love Ohtani. I think Ohtani's got the best chance. We always do the dong draft. We kind of leave the big power guys, the Ohtanis and Judges out. But if you're going to pick anyone at home run tonight, it's Ohtani. So even at that high price tag, I do like him. And I mean, we're going to have a lot more ownership on him than we will on a Judge, but I still think plays well in tournaments to get over the market on an Ohtani. Muncy, I agree with you. Even I'll throw in the righty bets as well. So I there's not much here I don't like from the Dodger lineup. I think you could play just about that entire lineup in 5-man stacks. Toronto side, I'm in agreement with you. While we may not be playing a whole lot of Kershaw, I don't really love their bats in this game. So I'm sticking to I'm going to be pretty heavy Dodger stacks, no pitching at all for me in this one.
All right, let's do the last game of the slate. We'll go back over stacks, favorite pitchers, and then we'll go to DraftKings Pick 6, pick a lineup for that to end the show. But first, let's go to San Francisco for the Nationals and the Giants. Looks like a bullpen game for the Giants. Going to be Matt Gage, who gets the first inning or two, I think is most likely. And then Jake Irvin going for the Nationals. I don't think you can really use any pitching in this game, at least from where I'm sitting, but I don't really want to use the hitters here either. Last game, I'm mostly pretending this one doesn't exist. You got anything you like your stats?
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with you as well. Irvin and whoever they're throwing out there, San Fran. Tang's probably going to get the majority of the work, but either way, it doesn't really matter for me. I'm not going to be playing any San Francisco pitchers, not going to play any pitchers at all. But I agree, it's not another park that we don't necessarily want to target all that much, but if you feel the urge to play it, Devers, Chapman, and Adames on the San Fran side. But that's about it for me. Wouldn't even play the big bats for Washington, too expensive. But I think this game is just going to be a total pass for me as well. Going to exit out. We got a couple of those, which helps that we can kind of X out on this slate.
Yeah, you don't want to be sitting there with the nut lineup and you got freaking Stack in San Francisco to try to close it out. Not a great feeling. So,
well, if it's a 7 o'clock lineup that's just nutting early and you do somehow have San Francisco with it, do you make changes to one of these? Do you try to figure out how you can change it?
Swap it out. Which, if you're going to do that, you shouldn't have it in the first place, right? So,
I'm like, well, do you look at it and you're like, well, it's going to depend, but yeah, there's some game theory behind it, but very rare circumstance will you be doing that in MLB.
100%. All right, let's go back over pitching quick here stats. What are you looking at for your favorite pitching combination? Let me pull up all the pitchers here so we can kind of look at what Saber's got. You see Skubal there with that monster, almost 27-point projection from Saber. They don't have anybody over 20. I kind of disagree with that on Sanchez especially, but your favorite pitching combination of the day, all things considered.
Yeah, I think, Skubal, like I said, I'm just going to be real heavy there. And I think because I'm getting so heavy, Skubal, it's going to either be like a Gallon or a Bybee for me that are going to be critical. They're actually both going to be critical. I'm gonna go with Bybee though as my second. So like a Skubal Bybee, because I got to get a little bit of savings on pitching to fit some of these bats in. Yeah,
and I've got it narrowed down to 4 for me on my 5 DraftKings lineup. It's Skubal, Sanchez, Gallon, and Bybee are the 4 I'm using. Similar over on FanDuel, where I play 5 lineups as well. So those are the 4 that I'm kind of focused in on tonight. Obviously, other ways to go, but I do feel pretty good about the dialed-in pitching pool tonight. Let's go to stats. Give me your give me 2 stacks that you can go anywhere with them, and give me 1 maybe contrarian stack you're looking at.
Oh, let me see here. So I've got. I do like those Dodger stacks quite a bit. I like the. And I like Cleveland stacks. So I don't know how contrarian. If we're gonna go contrarian, I think you got to look at those Philly. I really like those Philly stacks as at least for secondary stacks. Contrarian, those big bats on the Phillies. I like that quite a bit. Getting that ownership, and then Judge as far as a one-off, I think could be potentially really good at low ownership tonight.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I'm with you on the Dodgers. They are certainly near the top of my list. I'll throw in the Marlins, who I think have got a lot of potential against Bryce Elder. And then, the A's against Sagano, soft tossing guy, gives up a lot of contact. That's really good for the A's, who have power, but also do have a lot of swing and miss. Let's go over to pick 6. I'll pull it up here if I can on the screen share. Let's build a lineup.
They've got a couple of what they call kind of boosted plays. You can only take one, but I think you kind of have to take one. To me, it's down to 2 guys. So we'll decide together here. You want Ohtani hit run RBI over 1.5, or do we want Skubal 7.5 Ks to the over? Because I don't like the Brown. I'll be honest with you, I don't like the Brown or Scherzer one all that much, even with them boosting us.
Agreed. I think it comes down to Skubal or Ohtani. I think there's less variance in the Skubal number with the boost. I think over 7.5 would be my choice there. What about you?
It's so close, but I give a slight edge to Skubal, so let's go with that one.
All right, so we'll get Skubal in there. What do you want to look at next in terms of where we want to go for? We look at home runs.
So I've got. Well, I'll tell you because I've got a bunch written out.
Okay.
So I've got player outs for Savali. See if we get. Right. I know you get it. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of stats for in baseball, but player outs. His outs is 16.5, and I like that one to the under.
Oh.
So I like less than 16.5 outs for Savali.
I like that call on Savale. What else you got for us, stats? You have more you got written down?
Yeah. I can give you all 6 if you want me to do it.
Yeah, give it to us, Stat.
I'll do. I know it's tough. It's tough to go through them all, but I got them all listed here. How about all right? I think this is an interesting one. Well, is the Lugo one? Check Lugo player hits allowed. That's not a boost, right?
Yeah, hits against 5.5.
I like that one I like that as an under. So I'm going to go under 5.5 on the Lugo. Seth Lugo hits allowed.
I like that call against the Twins. Not a super hittable guy. Seth Lugo, what do you got next for us, stats?
Let's go with. All right. I don't know if you're going to like this one, but Pavetta's outs. I'm going to take 17.5 over for Pavetta.
That makes sense to me. I mean, just regularly goes deep into games like the Pavetta call. Let me see these Sanchez props. Christopher Sanchez. You can't take any unders against Sanchez from pick 6 here?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. Oh, were you looking to fade? You were looking to go under or under hits against? Oh yeah, with the hits.
No, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want more earned runs.
You know what it is? Yeah, I think if they get too many on certain markets, I think they just kind of close that market down. So.
Yeah. All right. No Sanchez. Then what do you got next?
All right. I like. Let's go Jackson Holiday. This is always a tricky one, but I'm going to take it singles. I'm going with his over. He's got to get one base hit for us tonight, Jackson Holiday.
All right. Hits over 0.5
Hits over.
All right. We got Holiday.
What, 5? Is that 5 or 6?
That's 5. We need one more.
5. I'll give you one more.
All right.
And I'm going to take James Wood. I'm going to take his hit run RBI under. He's going to go less, 1.5.
I like that in San Francisco. Low scoring game. Makes a ton of sense with James Wood there. So we got Skubal over on the strikeouts with the boost. Savale under on 16.5 outs. Lugo under 5.5 hits. More outs than 17.5 for Pavetta. Over Jackson Holiday hits and under James Wood hits, runs, and RBIs. All right. Awesome stuff here. Today's stats. And this show will be back Sunday morning with Bryce. Good luck to everybody. We'll be in the Discord answering questions, getting cores in, all that good stuff over at Run Pure Sports. Hit the like button on your way out if you haven't done so yet. We do appreciate that. And until next time, he's Stats. I'm DC. We're out of here.